everybody, it's Old Fart, your old buddy. How you doing? You know, the anti-gay, anti-abortion, anti-women, anti-immigrant movements are all happening for one reason. Conservatives and evangelicals want to preserve male, white-only rule using the Bible as their authority. A good way to describe these kinds of people would be neo-Nazi white supremacists. The new Republican/Tea Party has all the earmarks of the brown shirts in Germany in the 1920s and 1930s. Vilify everyone who isn't part of their self-perceived, self-proclaimed, special or pure race, and make them the enemy, even when they're not. This kind of mindless loyalty is what causes North Koreans to celebrate the failure of their government's rocket launch with applause, fireworks, and all the trimmings of a great victory. The 8 years of the Bush administration was like a billion failed rocket launches. But so many Americans have become almost as stupid as those North Koreans are that people like Sarah Palin and about half of Americans today still think Iraq was responsible for 9/11. Unbelievable! That's why the rethugs and baggers still complain about how illegal immigration is an enormous and dangerous problem, when the truth is we're now at zero-sum immigration. The number of illegal immigrants in the country has dropped by almost 1 million, and for everyone that comes over the border now, one goes back because the American economy sucks so bad they can't get jobs here anymore either. Vilify, vilify, vilify. Remember when they threatened to shut down the federal government over funding for Planned Parenthood? Mitt Romney says he'll get rid of it if he's elected president. The Attorney General of Texas, Greg Abbott, just compared Planned Parenthood to a terrorist organization. Throw in forced invasive ultrasounds and use the church to make contraception a sin, and I think we can safely say that women have been vilified, and there is a war against them coming directly from the conservative and evangelical brown shirt breeding grounds. And of course, same-sex marriage has to be vilified as a threat to traditional marriage, which would cause harm to our society, even though no one has ever been able to make that case. The truth is, divorce does an incredible amount of damage to families and society, but they tend to gloss over that because their agenda really has nothing to do with facts. If you don't believe what I'm telling you, listen to Jody Brunstetter, the wife of North Carolina state legislator Peter Brunstetter, who authored the state's anti-same-sex marriage law, which would be an amendment to the state's constitution, because she came right out and said it. He wrote the law to protect the Caucasian race and save the U.S. Constitution from activist judges. Whites created this country. Whites wrote the Constitution. This is about protecting the Constitution. Straight from the horse's mouth, folks. Well, the wife of the horse, anyway. I can't stand to listen to these racist, homophobic, xenophobic, fear-mongering idiots whining on and on about how the Constitution backs their way of thinking. If Christians really want to save marriage, I say we make divorce illegal. Make married people abide by their vow to stay together till death do them part. Make them put their money where their mouth is, or shut their goddamn pie holes. Anyone who thinks that giving a piece of paper to a gay couple, which is all a marriage certificate really is going to bring down society is just clapping for another failed rocket launch. Because 10 years from now, people will look back at 2012 and wonder how the hell people could have been so fucked up and paranoid. Just like we look back at the time when blacks and whites couldn't marry, or when women were expected to stay barefoot and pregnant and weren't allowed to vote. One last thing about North Carolina. I just saw a story about a pastor there named Sean Harris who not only violates the constitutional separation of church and state and the entire basis of his church's tax-free status by actually telling his congregation how to vote, he tells parents that if they suspect their child might be gay, even at 4 years old, they should beat the child until he or she becomes straight. Is this the mentality you want running this country? You know, a lot of people knock California, but let me tell you something we have here that people like these redneck racists and homophobes don't. People here are tolerant for the most part, and we're smart enough to know that the Republican/Tea Party has gone batshit insane. California is like a roach motel for Republicans. They check in, but they don't check out. But because Nazis are known for not respecting borders, even here, we're not immune to the influence of the homophobes like Mitt Romney's Mormon Church, which pumped $75 million into Proposition 8 a few years ago to overturn California's Constitution. This will all change in the near future. And even with all its problems, California still ranks as the 7th largest economy on Earth. And California has always led the way for the rest of the states. Hopefully, some of our more evolved thinking about equality and justice under the law will rub off on the rest of the country before November. Otherwise, we're screwed. Peace and love, everybody. That's where it's at.
Peace and love is where it's at. Peace and love is where it's at. Peace and love is where it's at.